This is Frank Consello with the Crested Butte Home podcast, and my guest this week wears a lot of hats, starting with a chef's hat at the Crested Butte Burger Company and the club at Crested Butte. But he's also very involved with a lot of our local nonprofits and organizations, including the G.O.A.T.S, CBAC, GPLI, and STOR. If you don't know what all those acronyms are, don't worry, we are going to get to that. So please welcome Ben Breslauer to the Crested Butte Home podcast. This week on the Crested Butte Home podcast, my guest is Ben Breslauer. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
I grew up in northwestern Connecticut, a little town of Salisbury, very rural cow town, and came out to Crested Butte in 2005 for the first time.
Why'd you come out?
I had a friend that had turned into a ski bum, and I had a free winter ahead of me, and he convinced me pretty quickly to come out to try Crested Butte out. And
how'd you have a free winter? Were you like in school, or just got out of school, or how? Well,
it was more relationship based.
Okay, it was a time out.
It was a time out, and rethinking of life. So Crested Butte was natural for that. Came out here and then spent one winter after this in Trailriders and came right back.
Why'd you go to Trailriders? Just out of curiosity, just to check something else out? Or?
Yeah, it was my first time being in a mountain town, and I figured there's got to be other cool ones, and turns out there isn't. So,
well, I'm sure there's a few people in a few other towns that might say, "No, it's pretty cool too." But
this is Crested Butte home.
Most of them are in BC, so, totally. So unless I give Canadian visa advice on this podcast, we'll be Anyway. Well, so what were you into up in Connecticut? What, like, sports and stuff like that?
I was an avid mountain biker at that point. I had grown up and raced through high school at a professional level in cross-country mountain biking.
Oh, I didn't know there was a big scene there, but there was?
Yep, Northern Nationals back in the late 90s, and traveling around the country and doing that. So that was sort of my go-to then. Also, ski racing paired well with that through high school.
Did that too, okay.
Yep.
I'd say that's about 90% of the people I interview, honestly, are former ski racers.
So ski and powder was a new one, but yeah, that was the goal to get out here, because both those things looked awesome on paper out here, and turns out they are.
And what both those mountain bike and ski racing, were those like in Vermont, New Hampshire and stuff a lot, or was it more like local based?
No, it was local. I was in the hills. We had Connecticut's highest peak. 3,000 feet right there, and small Berkshire ski areas, and small town of 2,000 people, so there was a lot of open space and trails everywhere out there.
Really? Yeah. Mostly like Rudy and Rocky.
Grew up on a dirt road, so it was the natural way to get around was mountain biking. There wasn't skateboarding or
right
basketball courts. It was
not the urban sports, more the same stuff we do here in Crested Butte.
Yeah,
gotcha. Well, let's actually switch it up and go to what you do now for work before we kind of get back into mountain biking and moto and a lot of other stuff. So what you've got a whole bunch of jobs. So what do you do?
So by trade, I am a chef. I went to school in New Zealand, culinary school in Christchurch, and started a professional chefing career, and did that for 2 years back in Connecticut, and then moved out here and followed it up here, working at Soupçon and Timberline and Uli's Ice Bar before it was what it is now. And then 2007, I started as the executive chef at the Country Club, the club at Crested Butte, and ran the food and beverage program there for about 10 years. Did some famous people's weddings.
Like mine, yeah.
And then just recently, in the last 2 years, with the growth of the club, I've transferred into a facility management position. So now I oversee growth, building projects, any sort of projects that the club has or the owners of the club. So doing more property management, facility management now, and moved out of the kitchen. Still have the burger company, the Crested Butte Burger Company, still under my reign and my hat.
So how do you balance those two jobs? How does that work? Like as far as the demands of one versus the other?
Long days sometimes.
Okay.
Phone's ringing a lot, and just trying to delegate and use your time wisely, and have good employees and managers beneath me, and people I can lean on.
Yeah, I mean that's always the key. If you can get somebody else who knows what they're doing, and you can explain what they need to do, and they can just run with it. That's kind of the key to the whole.
Call me if it's burning down.
Yeah. So the burger company, I mean, it seems like that was something that was needed. So how did that all come about?
That was a fun concept that kind of started through the country club. It is still, it's partially owned by the country club.
Okay.
We were looking to put in a kitchen that would service our needs at our ski club up there. Mm-hmm. And that space was available, owned by the owner of the country club. So putting in one kitchen is easy. Putting in two kitchens is pretty much the same. So we thought we'd utilize the space for a public outlet as well, and be able to keep some flow going and give something back to the community as well, by putting in that front line that everybody sees when they come in the burger company.
Gotcha.
In the back, we have another prep kitchen that services upstairs for the ski club. Okay. So it was a dual purpose. It was kind of natural to be able to have a public outlet as well. And, the concept was just really fun, coming from a fine dining and club atmosphere to just dial it back and start eating fatty burgers and doing the research on that. And it was actually a lot of product research to get that exact recipe of beef and cheese, everything that goes into it.
What was
a lot of different meat blends, getting the right fat content, the right muscle, that's going into it. Is it a chuck? Is it a, what are we putting into that grind? The right size, all of it, and how it would fit on the bun. It's the right bun. Wheat Montana, and they're working with us and making our buns for us, and so there was a lot of. It was designed. It wasn't just let's buy a burger and a bun and put it out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and buns I feel like are actually kind of the most important piece of at least of an inexpensive burger, like those like soggy ones that just like instantly soak up all the meat juice, and you're like, yummy.
Totally. So yeah, there's a lot of design to it, and then designing the system of the line and how that all works, and how it goes down the line, and you get your product at the end. It was a fun endeavor for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think people might not realize. So you keep saying the club, so that we're talking about the country club in Skyland, but you also have this element on Mount Crested Butte. So maybe explain that for people who aren't totally
correct
aware of what all you got going on.
Yeah. So the club at Crested Butte is known as the golf course out in Skyland, or Skyland Country Club, or the many different names that it's been through the years. And it was about 7 or 8 years ago we started having some desire to have a space on the mountain and have a winter amenity for our members. Okay. So we started with a very small 1,000 square foot room that we would just have hot chocolate bar, and then we've grown to 3 different remodels since to have about 14,000 square feet now.
Wow, it's that big. Wow, that's crazy. It's
full service restaurant, bar, 200 plus lockers, ski valet system, so ski concierge, anything you need. We can do lift tickets, we can do overnight tunes, we can do everything that everybody doesn't want to deal with when they're skiing, we take care of. So we have a private parking lot up there, and that is an additional membership that you can add on to your. I was going to say,
membership. There's a bunch of different memberships, so you can just do the golf membership, and you can throw on the ski stuff and.
Correct. Yeah. So that it's been received really well, having the year-round entity, and as the demographics of the town change and younger families are joining the country club, skiing is more on par for what's going on. Just being a summer golf course wasn't cutting it for us. So
interesting. So you've actually noticed like this shift over the last several years, kind of thing.
100%.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's a national trend too of golf being an old sport, and the focus for clubs now is family and fitness and food.
Really? Interesting.
Golf is kind of just chugging along, and anything else that we can offer above and beyond that is what's really killing it for us. So
interesting. So what you're doing at the ski area, other than the burger place, is members only, but the club, that's open to the public as well, correct? Like if someone wanted to go grab a beer there. Correct.
Yes, we have a beautiful deck, lunch that's open to the public 7 days a week. Great deck out Brush Creek there that overlooks the golf course and back into town, and great place to hang out there.
Yeah, it's kind of overlooked. Probably the last time I had a beer may have even been at my wedding there. I don't even know, but I should remember that sometime.
Yeah,
if I'm mountain biking out that way, all right, that's the place I could go. So
stop in. It's not your stuck-up country club, We're not going to kick you out because you're wearing jeans or bike gear or moto gear or whatever. Come on in.
Right. All right.
We're a mountain club.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. In the Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, it's 2020. As hard as it is to believe, we are in a brand new decade, so it seems like a good time to look back at appreciation in the Crested Butte area in terms of real estate. So over the past 10 years of all property types of vacant land, homes, condos, the whole bit, we are looking at 4.3% annual appreciation in the past 10 years. Over the last 5 years, that number is 11.5%, 3 years, 13.4%, and over the last year, a whopping 25.5%. Those numbers are, of course, multiplied if you have a loan, since the bank doesn't get to take part in the profit when you go to sell your home. Of course, appreciation isn't the only reason to buy a home, but it really is a nice benefit and one of the reasons for home ownership. If you're looking for more stats and more figures, give me a call. This is Frank Consella, 970-596-7990, or you can visit CrestedButteRealEstateAgent.com, sign up for my newsletters there, or just shoot me an email from the contact page there. Let's get back to the interview. All right, well, speaking of mountains, you donate a lot of time to a bunch of different nonprofits. So, I always do some research, and I was fine. I didn't even know you were involved with some of this stuff. So what all organizations are you involved with? And then let's go through them.
Sure. Starting with my biggest one is the G.O.A.T.S, the Gunnison OHV Alliance of Trailriders, which is the summer motorized user group. I'm the president of that for the last 4 years, I guess. And through that, I'm also a founding member of the Gunnison Public Lands Initiative and the STOR committee as well, Sustainable Outdoor Recreation Committee. Also on the board of the Crested Butte Avalanche Center, and active member with Crested Butte Search and Rescue, too.
I missed that one, so there you go.
So, yesterday it was, work straight to a GPLI meeting, straight to a SAR meeting, and, burning the candle for sure.
In addition to all the work that we were just describing and gearing up for the upcoming ski season. So,
totally.
All right, well, let's start again with the G.O.A.T.S. So what... You kind of briefly said what it is, but go into it a little bit more.
Sure. So the G.O.A.T.S was more or less formed as a reaction to the 2010 travel management plan.
Okay.
The Forest Service did a revamp of travel management, summer travel management of what trails are open to who and what.
Which they do periodically. That's just what all forests do, not just this one.
Totally. It's usually every 20 years or so they relook at their travel management, which they're going into their winter travel management after their forest plan. Yeah. A couple of years in the making here. The motorized user community felt like we lost a lot in that, and we did not have any organized representation to sit at the table in those meetings. Some comments were thrown in here and there, but it wasn't coming from a legit organization.
Sure.
So the G.O.A.T.S was formed after that in 2011 to sort of have that voice and band together and have somebody or a voice in the Upper Valley here, all of Gunnison Valley really, to go to the meetings, to meet with the Forest Service, with the BLM, to take care of the trail maintenance that's needed and the clearing in the spring and give back as a motorized community, as well as hopefully do some advocacy and have that seat at the table. And it's been really well received, and started off a little rough, and but
how so?
That it was an us versus them sort of fight in the beginning.
Who was the them?
Non-motorized.
Okay.
Just in general, non-motorized users of trails, and a few trails were closed to motorized that we didn't think should be. So there was a little bit of strife in the beginning, back and forth, but we've kind of all come around to trails are trails. We all use them. We all should get along out there and slow down, let each other pass. I'm talking equestrian, hikers, mountain bikers. Everybody out there. It's not one specific group or anything that there's heartburn, but it's there's just a little better understanding back and forth now, and we're coming into an era now too. There's a lot more hybrid users. A lot more mountain bikers are buying motos and vice versa. So there is a lot more.
That certainly fosters understanding. You start to get it real quick when you do both things.
Definitely. And you have, a good friend that's doing the other thing instead of it just being these different cliques. So I think we've come a long way in trail friendliness, if you will, and being able to sit at the same table and talk, in a normal manner and not get escalated and actually get stuff done. The GPLI was huge for that. A lot of different stakeholders there. And now with the STOR committee, we have 19 people sitting at the table from every different corner of the county, and a lot of different users that we all can call each other and talk about issues now, which is great. Yeah,
we'll get to both those organizations in a bit, but where would you say the motorized community stands right now? Like what's the feeling? Do you think it's pretty good? Or if you gave it a letter grade? I don't know. Where do you think you're at? You and other motorized users in general, I guess.
Sure. It's a difficult one to say. So motorized use is always a tough one because there's different groups within that. We kind of started as a backcountry single track motorcycle club. However, as an OHV club, we are under the umbrella of OHVs, which are four-wheelers and UTVs.
ATVs and razors and the whole, side-by-side, whatever you want to call them.
Totally. And that's our toughest point right now is dealing with the razor issue for sure.
How so?
You been to Taylor Park?
I have, but expand. Yeah.
It's a perfectly acceptable use of the national forest. It's the roads though that people are riding them on were not built for these high torque light vehicles. They're built for tractors and mining equipment back in the day. And then it went to Jeeps and four-wheelers and stuff like that, which is still running at a slow rate of speed, four wheels locked. And now we have these new vehicles that can spin the tires and jump over rocks and drift through corners. And it's seen a lot of 4x4 trail degradation. All the fines are coming out and rocks are popping up, and it's changed a lot of the 4x roads that have been in for 100+ years.
Right. Yep.
Pretty quickly. It's it's crazy. So trying to figure out a plan, an adaptive management plan for that use has been a challenge for us for sure. As far as our backcountry motorcycle single track routes, that's thriving. I mean, that's a great market now. There's different companies are really delving into that market instead of the track motocross style racing, and the hard enduro and the trail riding is really becoming a lot more popular, and brings a lot of visitors and a lot of money into our valley here. Lots of heads and beds and gas being filled up, and
totally, and trailers and trucks and
So trying to figure out how to be ahead of that as far as parking areas and signage and just letting people know what is and isn't allowed. A lot of people come out and think, riding to the top of that mountain because I can see that mountain is what you want to do. And in a lot of states, that is what you do. But Colorado, we're, strictly stay the trail now. And we try and pound that home for sure.
How do you do that then? How does your organization try to do outreach?
Trailhead days. We definitely stop people if we see something going on. Obviously, we're happy to be that guy because somebody has to. You can't just.
Well, and it comes better from, like if you're a motorized user, it comes better from someone who's also a motorized user than the hiker or the mountain biker saying you shouldn't do that, and then they just, again, it gets that classism or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, great feedback on our Facebook posts. Some of those are 10,000 people strong and shared all across the country. So we are getting we're getting the word out there pretty well. We do partner with the organization called Stay the Trail as well for a couple of trailhead days, and they have just great materials and data that can help people understand it a little better. This isn't, coming out and you're not driving in fields, you're driving in, high alpine fragile tundra that might grow back for 20 years.
Right.
That plant that's the size of a dime has been trying to get to that size for 15, 20 years. And
it only has a couple months to go.
Totally.
It's rough.
And then also, a good part of the G.O.A.T.S is a lot of our trail clearing and trail work that we do. Earlier this year, we've cut probably, last I checked on our log, it was 780 trees.
Wow! Yeah.
For just this season,
and that's obviously that's helping hikers and equestrians and mountain bikers, not just motorized. So.
Definitely.
Well, for someone who says they want to see less Moto Use, what would your response to them be?
I would take out our great map of the area and point out the West Elks and the Fossil Ridge Wilderness and the Maroon Bells Wilderness and show how many acres of congressionally protected wilderness we have around us, where you can get lost for weeks on end out there. I don't see less Moto Use happening on our existing moto trails. I would say if you're going on a trail that's open to motos, be ready for that interaction. If you're not into that interaction, check out the wilderness.
What about for the mountain biker then, who can't be in the wilderness but also has an issue with motorized use? What would you say to that person?
Again, there are numerous trails that motos are not allowed on. Most of the flagship mountain bike trails are not moto trails. They might have been at one point a moto trail, but no longer are open to motos. Going up the Gothic corridor, going out Baxter's, or coming around that way. There's a lot of good options. The loop-ins, the lower, the uppers, all of those are all
the CBMR trails. Yeah,
totally. E-bikes is a different thing, though.
I almost brought it up. We're not doing it.
We'll bring Dave in for that. Get real loud.
I've already had one podcast that just went on and on with the e-bikes. I'll limit it to that one.
I love them.
Let's move on from that, I guess. And so you mentioned the Crested Butte Avalanche Center is another organization. So what's your role there on the board of directors?
I'm just a board member at large, so going to the meetings, approving budgets, approving staff structure, a lot of fundraising efforts, knocking on doors, trying to cold sell sponsorships, business sponsorships. There's a lot of time spent at the events we do, selling swag, selling memberships, a lot of outreach and trying to come up with new creative ideas to sustain our Avalanche Center, since we are a very unique, self-funded. Yeah. We don't get a penny from the government, which is rare in the Avalanche world. Yeah. But we offer a superior product, in my opinion. That's a point forecast for the Crested Butte zone, which you don't get from the other guys. So it is a very valuable resource to myself and the community, and that's where I found myself wanting to help out with that one. And being a motorized user, a snowmobiler in the winter, as well as a backcountry skier, being that hybrid user, I was, I suppose, drafted to the board to sort of hopefully bridge that gap and bring our Avi report more to the sled necks and the 100 trailers up at Kebler Pass every Saturday.
Sure. Try to mention that other side of things, yeah.
Totally. Backcountry users are backcountry users in every way, and the Avi report can help everybody that's out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, lately, the snowmobilers have kind of been, getting in accidents as much, if not more, than skiers lately. So, yeah, it's like, but you're right, like the forecasts are generally kind of more tailored to the skiing aspect of it. So,
yeah, that's good. So we're trying to get a little more sled lingo into the forecasts, and we've been working with the snow trackers, the Gunnison snow trackers, and I've been to a few of their meetings, and having a beacon station, a check put in up at Kebler was a big step for sure. Through the snow trackers, and it's been a great organization to be a part of.
Let's just keep moving through all the acronyms. The STOR it's a really cool concept. So explain what that is again, and what it stands for, and how that's moving along.
Sure. So STOR is the Sustainable Tourism and Outdoor Recreation. You can say committee or not. It could be STOR committee or STORC, depending on who you ask. And that was a product mostly of John Messner, county commissioner, through the county. This is a county chartered group.
Okay.
So there were some appointed seats and there were some interviewed seats for positions on this board. I interviewed with the commissioners and was awarded a seat for 2 years at that table. And it's absolutely everyone you can think of, from CBMR to Crested Butte Nordic to Gunnison Trails, Simba, Upper Gunnison Watershed District, all of the towns involved, Mount CB, Crested Butte, Gunnison, Forest Service, BLM, Park Service, Parks and Wildlife. I'm sure I'm missing probably 10 of them, but it's a very diverse group. And the goal was really to just get everybody on the table or on the same page and start thinking about projects that can improve the sustainability of our outdoor recreation and tourism economy.
What would be like an example of that, I guess?
A lot of it in the beginning here has been based with Matt McCombs in the Forest Service, and we've established a National Forest, a Gunnison Forest Fund.
Okay.
Similar to the ski fund that they do up in the White River. It's a $1 per ticket opt-in, opt-out sort of thing that is matched by the U.S. government. Another congressionally designated fund that we match. So we've started that up, which is great, getting money rolling in, and there's a lot of other outfitters and businesses that have partnered up with that as well to give back to that. And that all gets matched, which is awesome. And then if any of the groups involved have a project that is trying to get off the ground, we start a roll with that and take a vote to the table. And a few of them to start. We've done signage out Peanut Lake Road. We've really improved that out there. Working with the county there to improve parking and access out there, and what is and isn't allowed out there on those trails. That's going to move to Slate River Trailhead as well, and have a new design for that trailhead.
Okay.
To hopefully improve parking and
wintertime.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've worked with the Forest Service to help them. They're going to roll out a new designated dispersed camping plan next year. They've already started signing and putting up these in all of our 7 drainages. And we're going to help fund half of that with a match from the Forest Service again to put in fire rings and designate these campsites. And really just looking forward down the line and what we can do to sort of curtail the rowdiness and rogueness that's been going on, in that one specifically around camping. It's gotten really, really out of hand out there. So that's been a strong focus in the beginning stages here. we are looking at, what e-bikes are going to look like in Gunnison County and how those are designated on different trails. Between all the different agencies that we work with here, we work with Land Trust, has some trails. The town has trails. BLM has trails. Forest Service has trails. Some trails cross all of those different owners. So it's a tricky situation to cross for sure. We're going to be doing some signage on river put-ins from Almont down with
Makes sense, yeah.
Yep. And then working on river put-ins and maybe moving the Almont one down to the campground there, just a little bit downstream there, which the campground that's very underutilized right there.
No one ever camps there.
Toilet ready to go, and everybody jams into that little gravel lot, which you're not even supposed to park that close to the river.
Right. And it's like right off the road. Like it's like almost scary turning in there off the highway or something. Like, yeah.
So it's just great to have this many different entities at the table that can all talk productively about how, what are the hiccups that may arise and what CPW, what do you got going on over there? Are there any, watershed district issues through there and access and what are the rights through there and whose land is it? And so it's really neat to have everybody be able to just do that instead of, a phone call to this phone call to this phone call.
Right.
And you're,
Yep. Everyone's just there.
3 months down the line, so we can all really get stuff done. And then the relationships and sub-meetings that happen out of that as well are pretty priceless as well.
Yeah, you think that's helping relationships, like, get better?
100%, yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Sitting next to, Guerreri from the ranching community and, being able to talk candid to him about, a trail. And it's great.
Well, I guess last one is GPLI, and for anyone who wants to listen, I interviewed Maddie Rain. It was number 16. So you can go back and listen to that. She kind of runs the show with GPLI, but what are your thoughts on that process, too? What that is, too?
It's been an interesting process. So it was decree, if you will, from Senator Michael Bennett, who is being pushed to have some conservation bills by a bunch of different groups that were all somewhat similar but also conflicting. So he asked the community to put together a community-birthed bill, basically.
GPLI, which is Gunnison Public Lands Initiative. But anyway.
Correct. And that's not the bill per se. That's the working group that has been formed, and it's been 3 to 4 years now almost.
I think even more than that, honestly.
From the initial, yes.
Yeah.
Totally. It's been a long time coming. And it was basically looking at all the public lands in Gunnison County. As you know, Gunnison County is 3,200 square miles. It's ridiculous.
About as big as the state you came from, almost.
Totally. So there's a lot of public lands out there. It's, I believe it's 80%, if not more, public lands. Yeah. So seeing where Crested Butte and Gunnison is going and the growth of Colorado as a whole, there were some need for some protections in some areas and some need for protections of recreation in other areas. And this was a collaborative effort. We took, I think it was 3 initial proposals and kind of melded them together and then picked each little polygon apart and talked about historic uses, future uses, repercussions of changing the designation, and we've come out with a fairly comprehensive plan that will be submitted as the form of a bill to Congress. And there is some designated wilderness, some new wilderness additions to the West Elks, to the Maroon Bells. And there's something that we've talked a lot about are special management areas, which is an area that you can craft the legislation to say whatever you want for that area. So a lot of those look like sort of locking in where we're at. No new trails will be built, but existing trails may still exist, motorized or mechanized. There will be no mineral extraction. Each one is different. Each special management area has different prescriptions for what is what. So it's been an interesting, starting from a very high look to a microscopic look of every little acre in Gunnison County, and some outlying areas and some different proposals that have come in along the line, and some public comments that have come in along the line, and how to incorporate those has been a challenge. And I think once we finally have a product, it'll be a product that'll have community buy-in, which is some of the other proposals of hidden gems and further ones before that did not come from the community. So this was really based around Gunnison County and having these specific people at the table and hearing everybody out.
For anyone that doesn't know, like the special management areas I guess it's like bringing a scalpel, whereas wilderness is like bringing a chainsaw sometimes, and it's really good to. Personally, I would hope that we can do more of that, because it can serve the needs of what's on the ground right now, like you said, versus just shutting a user group or multiple user groups out to get some other benefit, like no timber harvesting or no mineral extraction, something else that you're just trying to get out. But you can do both, and it's a better way to go about it, to me.
Definitely. No, it's a good compromise, and it'll be federally designated that way instead of just a sign of please don't do this. Or
Well, you brought up before that the Forest Service is going through a giant revision, basically. So how are they taking what GPLI has done and incorporating it into their plans from what you've seen?
Hard to say, since they're supposed to have their environmental assessment out in January. Now it's maybe April, and now it's maybe fall. So they have taken our proposal very seriously, and the Gunnison County Commissioners, which is a cooperating agency with the Forest Service in this forest plan, has signed off on this. We did present to the county commissioners back in June, and they have endorsed us again, since it was a shift in county commissioners from when it was initially chartered to our new county commissioners, acting county commissioners. So we had to bring them up to speed a little bit, and we got county buy-in. We'll see what they're doing in Delta. There's a lot of higher ups over there.
Delta being the national forest, the
GMUG.
The GMUG, for people who aren't, you and I kind of pay attention to stuff more than most, but so Delta is in charge of the Grand Mesa, Uncompahgre, Gunnison, three different national forests.
Three different national forests that are all regionally coordinated through Delta. So this is where this forest plan is being housed and developed over there.
Yeah.
And they've had some shift in leadership, too, through this process, which has stalled it out a little bit. Hopefully, some or most of the GPLI shows up on a alternative to their forest plan. We are still going about our path parallel. We're not going to put all our eggs in that basket, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that means we are, in fact, writing a bill that's going to go to Congress. Just yesterday, we had a GPLI meeting and talked about all those steps and all the weird legislative language and how to read a bill and what goes in, the definition section and the purpose and all this stuff. So that was pretty neat to get a briefing on and then how the bill passes through and how it's torn apart and markup period and this and that. And, so it was a good lesson about our government.
It's like those cartoons from when we were kids, right?
We kept bringing out the Schoolhouse Rock, how to introduce a bill, totally. And it's similar but different.
There you go.
So yeah, our goal, it would be great that they embrace some of this into the forest plan, but we're not banking on that.
Yeah. Well, let's start to wrap it up. And first, I'll just say thanks for being involved with all these organizations. And you've already got all this work stuff we started talking about, so I don't know where you're finding the time, but good job.
It took us 6 months to sit down.
I guess that's true, too.
Got to book me in advance.
Right, yeah, totally. So Crested Butte is home for you, so why do you choose to make Crested Butte your home?
Excellent. The community, really. The outdoor recreation is amazing, but I wouldn't be here without the community, the friends and family that have grown to love here, and people come and people go, but you always have your core group, and this is definitely where my heart is. It's not an easy place to live.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is, but we pay a premium. For gas, for groceries, for everything to be here, for travel, being away from your family. It's definitely it's difficult, but it's well worth it for sure. It's where I've chosen to make my home, and will continue to.
Yeah. Where can people learn more about all these organizations? That's going to be, it will be in the show notes, and I'll have links to all these organizations. Let's
Perfect.
do that. Yeah. Anything I didn't ask that, or you just want to get off your chest or talk about or anything?
Pretty well encompassed it.
Okay,
yeah,
covered it.
That was great.
Good job. All right. Final question: who else should I interview?
Who else? I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't seen them all. I've flipped through a few.
Fair enough.
Like to see some food and beverage, some chefs going on. Who have you had through here?
I haven't done enough of those.
Yeah. We're crucial to the heart of this community here.
Yeah. So who would be some ones that you would, from the culinary world?
The boys over at Soupçon, David and John, are awesome. They're really, really doing it well, I think. They've got creativity dialed over there, and are pushing the edge of culinary, which I think is awesome to see in Crested Butte. I think you've been pretty diverse, though. I think you're all over the place, which is great.
I try to be. And I do, whether it's culinary or fine arts or the theater, I haven't actually done as good a job representing that, I don't think. So I'll try to. Soupçon.
Yeah.
Soupçon will be.
Yeah, talk to those boys.
Okay, cool. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much for making some time, and we'll see you around.
Definitely. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks for listening to the Crested Butte Home podcast. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast player, or you can catch all the episodes at CrestedButtesHome.com. You can also find real estate information for Crested Butte and Gunnison at CrestedButtesHome.com, and I will have links to all the organizations that Ben and I talked about during this episode if you want to learn more or get involved with any of those organizations. This is Frank Consella, and I will see you again in 2 weeks with another new episode of the Crested Butte Home podcast.